Hi, this is Jared Pollock, founder of Entree Results and author of Entree Balance. It is wonderful to be with you here. This is going to be not only a video, but also a podcast. So welcome to my podcast listeners. Welcome to my friends on YouTube and social media. I'm excited you're here because we are going to talk about a powerful subject, a subject that is debatable from a lot of people. There's controversy behind this, and what we're going to look at is this idea of the mindset, the idea of the limiting beliefs and fears that we have and how to overcome them. And there's a lot of different philosophies on this, and I'm going to have to tell you, I'm going to have to give you a little confession. Some people, when they are coaches in this arena, whether it's a business coach or a life coach, when they talk about this subject of limiting beliefs and fears and kind of the journey to defeat these limiting beliefs and fears, man, sometimes people talk about it and it makes me feel really, really weird. It's like, it just makes me feel uncomfortable the way that they do it. So I really hope that as I go through a process, a logical process that we can go through to overcome these limiting beliefs and fears, I try to make sort of an esoteric thought as tangible as possible as we create a process to help you and help me overcome limiting beliefs and fears. And these things oftentimes hold us back from achieving the things and using our talents to the greatest ability. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on today. And a couple prerequisites to this conversation is there are truly things that we can't do. And I know me just saying that probably makes a whole bunch of people that take you through this process cringe, but there are things that we are limited on. There are things that we can't and shouldn't do. Let me give you an example. If my goal, and if I really set my mind to play professional NBA basketball, I don't think if I thought I can't do that, I won't be able to play professional NBA basketball, I don't think that's a limiting belief. I think that's just reality. I'm not that tall. I'm not young anymore. I'm not that athletic. I can't shoot that well, and I don't care how much I work at it, how I change my mind and go through this process. Like, I will never be able to do that. And so I do live in reality. As we approach this topic, there has to be some level of rational thought that sometimes is just completely not there when people work on limiting beliefs and mindset. So I want to throw that out there first and foremost. But second, I do think that for the most cases, the reason we can't achieve certain things is because we limit ourselves. All right? And just like if you wanted to work out and get in shape physically, there's things we can do in terms of the mind to get more in shape and to change our thought process, to change our mindset, and to overcome limiting beliefs and fears. And we're not going to cover all those, but I am going to go through a process that takes practice, and it's something it's not weird. It shouldn't make you feel uncomfortable, but it really works when you work on these things consistently. It's not a quick fix, but it is what it is, and it can produce a tremendous result. And I'm going to use myself. I'm going to be vulnerable here in front of my friends and fans and clients and everyone out there about a limiting belief that I had. And I remember, and I am 34 years old as this video is made, and I was 26 when this limiting belief creeped into my mind. I really knew that I had a passion, and I believe I had a God-given talent for coaching other people. I really had this dream and vision that I wanted to be able to lift up those around me, whether it's my friends, my community. As I got better and improved my own life, I wanted to be able to improve the lives of those around me. And I believe that I have a skill set, even a raw talent at that time before it was fully developed, to be able to really serve and help people in a mighty way through coaching. believed it, and I obviously believe it more now than ever before. But imagine, before I actually did this as a full-time business, you help people here and there, but before I was full-time, my thought, and I wanted to be a business coach that also believes, obviously, in having a tremendous life as well, but focusing primarily on business coaching in the small business community. My belief system, my limiting belief or fear was nobody is going to want a 26-year-old business coach. They're going to want someone that doesn't have as much hair on their head, that's had all this experience in growing businesses throughout their entire life. And at that time, I didn't have that experience. Obviously now it's a totally different thing, but again, I'm going back to that limiting belief or fear that I had when I was 26 years old. I was passionate about what I wanted to do, but there was a limiting belief or fear that was holding me back. So the first thing you have to do is identify it. That is a fear. To make matters worse, I had people around me that cared about me that were saying I shouldn't do coaching. It wasn't a good idea. There's other safer, more reasonable tracks. But the reality was I had the talent then, I had the skill set to be successful. It wasn't something that was out of my range of God-given talents. It was in my zone. It just made sense. And so I also had naysayers, doubters all around me. First thing you have to do is identify the limiting belief and the fear. So that was my specific limiting belief and fear. The next thing is, okay, when you say I'm too young to be successful, I'm too young to be a successful business coach, well, the next thing is to look at how you feel or what you think when you tell yourself that. Well, of course I felt lower. I felt like less likely to want to take action on that dream. It made me feel a little bit depressed, maybe a little sad. I had to identify the emotions that were created by that limiting belief and fear. And it's really important, especially if you guys like to write these things out on paper, type it out, get it on the table. Obviously, coaching really works because you can verbalize that to a coach. Tell someone else, very important, limiting beliefs, and then the feelings. And so as a result, what do you think my activity was? What do you think my activity was if I kept telling myself, oh, I'm too young, I won't be successful, I feel really bad, depressed? Well, my activity would have been, and it was, oh, I'm not going to take action, less likely to take activity. I'm going to just stay back and do what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to live the life I'm living, and then I get stuck because I'm still doing what I've been doing over and over again, and I wasn't happy. I wasn't feeling like it was really using the gifts that I had been given. So for process, you look at limiting belief, fear, you look at your feelings, and then you look at your activity. And it might be lack of activity when you're in that mindset. So here you are, and what do you do next? How do you overcome this sense of fear or limiting belief, whatever you are struggling with? Well, what I like to do is go to something called a trigger statement. A trigger statement would be, well, has there ever been a time where I have overcome a fear similar to that? For example, in coaching, maybe if once I developed a coaching practice, my trigger statement was, well, had I ever gained a new client? Have I ever helped and served someone? Have I ever helped someone grow? Well, the answer is yes. So mentally, I would go back to that moment of when I was helping people, when I was serving people. Even though I was young, I helped other business owners grow their business, so I would have to go to that trigger statement first. So that was when I was farther along in my business. But earlier on, I didn't have that much to work with, so I had to do something different. And there was really three things that I did, and one's very personal because I pray about it. I have a Christian worldview, so I pray about that fear. Second would be I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I looked at some other people that were business coaches, and my trigger statement was, I'm looking at someone else, and I'm not trying to judge them as not good coaches, but I really felt like if they could do it, why couldn't I do it too? If other people are successful and I have just as many, if not more talents than them, if I'm more passionate than them, well, why wouldn't I be successful at business coaching if they are too? And so if you have a limiting belief or a fear and you need your trigger statement to look at those around you and say, hey, if they can do it, why can't I do it? I mean, I do this all the time. You look at business owners that are very successful. Man, if they can do it, why can't I do it? You look at people with great relationships. Well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? And so these are things that you have to look at. And the other thing in terms of a trigger statement that you can look at for your own life would be a completely different example of nothing related to your success. So maybe I at that time looked at the fact of, well, yes, I have this limiting belief that I couldn't do it, but also I remember when I was younger and I didn't think I would be, starting on varsity basketball, or I didn't think I would have achieved that in the past, and I did. So sometimes you have to go back personally to past successes, things you've achieved that you didn't think you could, maybe the same fear that you had in the past that you overcame, and you use that as your trigger statement. Okay, here's the key. You have to go directly to the activity after that trigger statement. Some people have the ability, although not many, to identify the fear, identify the limiting belief, and then go straight to activity to overcome that limiting belief and fear. Most people do not. So we have to go to the trigger statement first. Get yourself mentally, emotionally there, and then next thing you do is take activity. So if I think through, my own process, it would be, okay, I know other people are doing it, why can't I? So the next step is I'm going to put together a list of everyone I know, all my contacts, all my network. I'm going to help create a little process for coaching, and I'm going to start telling people that I'm starting this business. I'm going to start letting people know. The activity is to get out there, talk to people. Oh, you know what? The next activity is I'm going to start joining some business groups and elaborating more on that. I'm going to take activity. And here's the reality. Once you start taking activity to overcome your fear or limiting belief, there's some motion. Once you get your body moving, you start sweating a little bit sometimes. You go out of your comfort zone. You start talking to people. Things start to change. Activity changes. It starts to change the way you feel and the way you think. And the reality is it's a reverse order. You start off with limiting belief, then feeling, then activity. Well, now you did your trigger statement, so you loop back to your feeling again after the activity. Trigger statement, activity, now you're starting to feel good. You're starting to think differently a little bit about how things are going. You're starting to kind of have a sense of belief. And then finally, the last step, after you've done your trigger statement, you started taking activity, man, you start to see a little bit of success. You start feeling good. You think differently. Now, your limiting belief, you turn into an empowering belief. As opposed to, I can't be successful as a 26-year-old young business coach. It is, I will be successful as a young business coach. Not only that, is I will be able to serve mighty amounts of people, and I'm going to create a company or a business that's really going to make a huge impact on the world. I believe that to all my core. And so you start having more of an empowering belief. And when you're in that empowering belief moment, you stick that empowering belief on your wall, you write it down, you say it out loud, you repeat it over and over again, and then you continually take action, and then you get the result most likely that you want, although there are many obstacles along the way. And so you have to go through this process over and over again until it's second nature, and then next thing you know, your limiting beliefs become smaller and smaller, your fears become smaller and smaller. That's the process. Let me take it through you one more time. Start off with limiting beliefs and fears. Identify that. Okay, identify your limiting beliefs and fears. Then you think, how does that make you feel? What are you starting to think? If you want to write that down, please do. Realize that in terms of activity, you're not taking activity because of all these things you're telling yourself. And so you're stuck. And you're stuck, you can either remain stuck or you can choose to do a process to change. The process to change would most likely be go directly to your trigger statement. Has someone else done it successfully? Have I ever overcome anything else in the past? Go to that moment in your head, think it through, be in that moment, and visualize that, and now take activity. It's all about activity. You start taking activity, you get out there, you start doing something, even if it's small, little bite-sized step. Next thing you know, you start to feel different, think different. Things start to change for you. You start to believe a little bit. Then your limiting belief is switched into an empowering belief. Now you're telling yourself that you can do it. And you write that on the wall, you stick it, you repeat it, and then maybe you do certain affirmations constantly to keep yourself going. And that is the process. That's it. Thank you so much for listening through this process. But really, if you really want to thank me, go ahead and take action on this. The other thing to think through is, as you become more aware of limiting beliefs and fears, you're actually going to become more and more aware of kind of higher level limiting beliefs or fears. I'll give you one small example, and then we'll close out. You know, one person, maybe they want to become a self-employed professional, and they didn't think they could ever be successful and be able to make enough money doing that to create a good life for themselves. And they got to the point where they're making plenty of income, self-employed. Now their new limiting belief is they can never hire people or have other people help them. And so the next thing you know is you have a team of 50 people. The next thing you know, people think, well, I don't know if I can grow this to a 1,000-person company. Not saying you want to do that. So we constantly are working through our mindset, and that is it. Again, this is Jared Pollock, founder of a dynamic business coaching company, Entree Results, founder of and author of Entree Balance, more about the life side of things. And I want to encourage you to take action immediately on this activity and live a life of truth, empowerment, and the pursuit of freedom. Again, this is Jared Pollock.